Welcome back. In this topic,
If I can get a confirmation, Meredith, can you hear the audio?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, everyone. All
hmm
right, I'll go ahead and continue.
we're going to talk about role responsibility for a route representative. So there's a lot of things that you as a route representative will be responsible for, but if I had to high level this from a three topic standpoint, the first thing you're responsible for is to retain the book of business that you're assigned to. The second thing you're responsible for is to grow that book of business that you've been assigned to. And third, you want to do everything safely. So let's start with the first one, retaining the book of business that.
So I'm going to pause there. One of the things I want to share with you that I have found most beneficial throughout the years is whenever working with a new learner, it's important to take more complex type content and break it down into simple terms. So obviously, if we write down all the specific details that a route representative is responsible for, sometimes it becomes overwhelming. What I've learned is to simplify that, and the reason why I say high level is to shift the focus in saying ultimately what we want to do is we want to retain the book of business we have. We want to grow that book of business, and we definitely want to do all of that safely. And this I found makes it so much easier for each one of the route reps to be able to wrap their head around it. And then I will explain some additional benefits as we continue on. And another thing I want to point out, all of these videos, my focus was to be within that 5 minute window. So you can see this one's 5:52. So there's videos that are under 5 minutes, let's say 4.5 minutes, some that are 5.5, 6 minutes. And the reason and the strategy behind this is just because our new learners that we have, their attention span, they don't prefer to watch lengthy videos. So we wanted to target that graphic or the stats that we've been able to find that this is a sweet spot in regards to ensuring that we have a balance of how long each video is. So you're going in really focused more on the quality part of it rather than the quantity and making it a longer type video. So that's the reason behind it. And if at any time you have a question, please raise your hand. Meredith can see who is raising their hand. If you have a question, chime in. I'll be happy to further expand on that or answer your question, but please do so. So I'll check in occasionally, see if you have any questions in regards to that. With that said, any questions at this point before we proceed? All right, let's continue.
That you're responsible for. One of the things I would assign as an activity, as a takeaway, regardless if you're an industry veteran or someone new to the industry, is to be mindful of the amount of revenue you're generating on a daily and weekly basis. So what do I mean by that? Every day when your invoices are printed, whether it's paper or on a handheld, you have a certain amount. That would be referred to as the projected revenue. In this example, let's say it's $2,000 for day one. At the end of the day, you settle your day, so any credits or debits that were given should vary from that 2,000. In this example, let's say you gave a $100 credit. At the end of the day, you settled at 1,900. Or it was debits, it went up to 2,100. Whatever that variance is, you want to be mindful of that. And when you start focusing in on that on a daily and weekly basis, you then begin to understand what you're doing from a revenue standpoint as to what you're generating. And then of course you start drilling into the details as to why those credits or debits happen and what you can do to have a positive impact on that. That will put you on the right path in regards to maintaining that retention level that you're expected to retain. Now,
So I'm going to pause there. This, of course, if you have, and again, speaking to various companies, depending on how everything's set up, you may have a paper invoice, you may have handheld, but collectively, if you shift the focus of your route rep and have them begin to focus in on that daily revenue, it's important simply because now their attention is on that specific amount as to what was projected, as mentioned in the video. and what the end of day number looks like and the net difference between the two. So right out the gate from day one, whenever I would take somebody with me out on route, that became a focal point. And it provided so much value right from the beginning because several things would happen. Now, I, of course, been fortunate enough to have my own route and take quite a bit of people with me from a training partner standpoint. And it would be so obvious if this individual was locked in and was interested about that part of it or simply did not care. And we wanted to know from the beginning how engaged this person is because the old saying, and you may have heard this, some of you may be using this terminology, where we say the people on route running the route, they basically own their own business. They're managing their own business. And we say that because we mean it, right? We want them to treat it with that level of urgency. Well, as any business owner or any general manager within our business, it is important to be aware of how much revenue we're generating. And we do have the projected amount of revenue. And when you start introducing terminology like that, your route reps begin to view the business as if they are business owners. So they have more of a vested interest and they begin to identify the difference between projected revenue and settled revenue and the net difference. So it goes far beyond just the number standpoint. And in the example, I use 2000, if it's $100 up or down, and then you drill into the details. That simple activity to have each one of your new route reps begin to learn about that really shifts their focus and begins to not only be mindful of retaining that business, but also how the growth part of it will impact them. So I'm going to pause there, see if there's any questions, thoughts, comments, concerns about having each one of the route reps be focused on the revenue aspect. All right, we'll continue.
The second thing I mentioned, which was the growth part of it. Caleb, if you could please shed some insight. When you're thinking about the growth aspect of it, what are some things that you can help a route representative think about when it comes to growth?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is to really understand that it's not selling at all. Okay? What it is you actually being a outstanding service rep and a service provider and a solutions provider for your customers. So a lot of times what we offer, customers are already utilizing that product. Whether or not they're buying it from you or if they're not, they're most likely utilizing that product and or service that you provide from somewhere. So for you as a service rep, it's important to understand that we're not asking you to go out and be an active salesman. We're asking you to provide service and superior service to your prospects, or I'm sorry, to your customers. So the second thing is to really understand also, Ray, that a lot of times just having that simple conversation can actually help insulate a little bit of your business as well. And what I mean by that is if we have a product that our customers are not utilizing currently, there's a really good chance that a competitor actually does offer that product and is trying to get in there, supply that product, and start a relationship with your customer. And if they do that, that can have an impact on what you talked about earlier, which is the retention aspect of the business, right? Yeah. So it's kind of a twofold soft benefit for us, but ultimately huge benefit for the customer. So absolutely. Pro tip I'd like to add,
sure.
I think a lot of times you and I both, on-site visits, we've been on route together, done some visits with some folks. And it's interesting to me, I walk in quite frequently and I see competitor information on the wall or in a restroom. Their labels are a lot of times on their dispensers or on a first aid cabinet. And while you might not offer that product or service specifically, it's still an important, really good practice to know who's in my accounts and what are they doing. So we had talked a little earlier about take a minute, slow down, recognize your surroundings. at minimum, even if you don't offer that service, it's a really good thing to have notes either in your handheld or personal notes to know that a competitor's in there taking care of something.
Absolutely. One of the worst things, unfortunately, we have experienced this and we've seen others experience this, is when you as a provider have a solution, yet a competitor comes in and takes the business simply because your customer did not know that you offered that. And I know that's exactly what you're referring to, and you mentioned that. It's just painful, and I don't want you to have to experience that. So be proactive and look for the solutions. Retain the book of business that you're assigned to. Be focused on growing that revenue. And when we talk about the safety,
so I'm going to pause there, and it's important to mention one of the themes that you will notice throughout the content that we have prepared for you is we continuously blend in the service and the sales aspect, simply because within the service department and the role, there's so much emphasis and focus on the tangible things that we're doing as service representatives. So we physically take product in, we physically bring product out, we're housekeeping, we're doing X, we're doing Y, and it seems like sales or growth part of it seems to be an afterthought, more of if we get a chance to do it. So what we're doing here from the beginning is we want to make sure that you as a route representative, your responsibility, as Caleb mentioned in this video, is to provide solutions. So we don't want that individual to internalize the word sales or selling. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that have a negative viewpoint of whenever they hear the word sales or selling. Rather, we want them to focus on providing solutions. So if somebody is truly focused on providing an outstanding service experience, if you will, then what we do throughout the content that we're sharing with the new learner is to simply get to the point that we would be doing a disservice if we have a solution in place and we do not share that with the customer. So it's more focused around really pulling that lever on the service component rather than the selling component. And the reason we're doing this is because we're not saying sell this to make extra commission. That is not the focus of what we're doing. What we're doing, in fact, is saying that a customer has trusted us in regards to managing their business and providing the service and the solutions. It would be a disservice for us to knowingly identify needs that they have, yet do not take any steps to make them aware that we can provide that solution for them. We can make life easier for them. We can provide a hassle-free of getting everything taken care of and done. They can count on us for doing that. So the main focus here becomes making sure that the customer is well taken care of. And that's why we're blending in this logic and mindset of saying the service part of it is the reason why we are there. But focus more on the solutions you can provide in form of communication, in form of creating awareness, and just overall for your customer to enjoy doing business with us. So when we are on site, they truly feel comfortable and have this confidence that we are looking out for their best interest. And this will help break down some of those negative barriers or internal roadblocks that some people may have when they think of sales, because when you think of growing the revenue, sometimes the only path there is through sales. And we're saying don't really focus in on sales and selling rather than the solution part of it, because that will get you to that growth aspect, which is nothing for us to be ashamed of. We definitely want to grow and provide an outstanding customer experience. But what we want to do is ensure that we take the time and keep our customers informed. So that's the purpose behind that. So I'm going to pause there, see if there's any questions. Meredith, is there anybody with any questions before I proceed?
So far, nothing.
Okay. Thank you, Meredith. All right, so I'll continue on.
The aspect of it, we simply want you to go home safe to your friends and family, and when you come to work, keep that in mind, Although generating the revenue, taking care of the customer is important, but what's most important is for you to be safe. So whether you're operating the vehicle or safe lifting, twisting, anything you're doing, it's important for you to take care of yourself and slow down a bit. That would be the biggest tip I would want to share with you as a takeaway from a safety standpoint. And we'll talk more about safety in a different chapter. But for now, that would be it. Just focus on retaining your business, growing it, and doing it safely. Thank you.
And this, you will notice we have knowledge checkpoints here. So this is an opportunity for the person to click on this. And most cases, we are reminding or reinforcing a concept or thought process. Some of them have multiple choice questions. Some of them have true or false questions. So we've created a good variety of response options that an individual will have. Some of them is just to acknowledge something, just to further reinforce that. So let's click on this. And here the question is asking, at a high level, a route representative is responsible for retaining their assigned book of business, growing the book of business, and doing it safely. So in this example, we're reinforcing what we just talked about within this 6-minute video. And then once they select their response, they click on check. It'll go through it, confirm that it's correct, and then they click on continue to end the video.